The site for the church was donated to the parish by a gentleman of the name of Thomas Higgins. He owned this mountain as well as the surrounding mountains. He donated it to the pastor at the time, Father Constant Mandan, with one requirement, which was that the church be built facing Higgins Hill, which is across the way here, and that hill contained Mr. Higgins' mines. So that was the only stipulation that he had with regards to his donation. I believe this donation took place in the year of 1913. And the first pastor here was Father Constant Mandan, who went to work right away to raise the funds to build a church here for the community, because the existing structure that was in place was already being outgrown. It was a simple wooden structure, and many times the people had to worship outside of the building because the church just couldn't hold the masses of people.
And back in the day, Bisbee was the big
Oh yeah,
city.
this was a boom town. You know, mining was in its heyday, and there were many Welsh and Irish miners here who needed to be ministered to by the church. And so they were very anxious in supporting Father Mandan and his need for funds and of his need for labor to construct the church. So many times the miners would, after working their shifts in the mine, would come to work an additional 4 hours that day here at the church site, constructing what we now know as St. Patrick's Church.
And how did the windows really get developed? Was that originally in the plan, or do you?
I would say yes, that it was, because Father Mandan contracted the services of an architect out of Los Angeles who developed the plans for the new church, as well as helping Father Mandan realize that the initial funds that they thought they were going to need weren't going to be enough for the design and the size of the church that Father Mandan was wanting to build. So I would say yes to that question. And the stained glass were designed by an artist by the name of Emil Frey, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. He was a Bavarian-born gentleman who studied at the Munich Academy of Art before migrating to the United States. He had an art glass company in St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Louis was the place where he created and manufactured the stained glass that we see today installed here at St. Patrick's.
And when I was coming in, there were folks chit-chatting about it.
Right.
It's kind of a secret here. So to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah. I think it's one of the jewels of our diocese. Everyone who stops to see the glass are awestruck by how beautiful they are, how color-filled they are, and how detailed each of the panes is in its depiction of Christ or a moment in our Lord's history. Yes, they are awesome windows.
Just looking around, tell me about your favorite window, or what do you really appreciate?
My favorite happens to be the one we're looking at here at the front of the church, which is the Assumption of our Blessed Mother. And maybe that's because that's the one that I look at during the celebration of our liturgies as I'm assisting as deacon. It's just so beautiful and it's so inspiring. Because of its placement, it's so obvious and within our direct eye contact that it reminds me of how I hoped to develop and grow my faith in imitation of how Mary lived hers.
And by looking at the outside, we don't know if it's bulletproof glass or not, but there's some kind of protective glass. People really wouldn't know unless they came in. It just looks like a darkened out window.
That's right. Yeah, whatever that protection is, it definitely dulls what you're going to see from the outside looking in. But fortunately, it does not encumber the light hitting the glass, so that once you're inside the church, you do get the full benefit of the beauty of the stained glass as the light is permitted to come through that protection and then through the glass.
Okay, Deacon, my last question for you is, these things have to be priceless. Do you ever see a new church being constructed like this with this type of work?
No, I haven't, and I would think that it would probably be cost prohibitive to have this style, this type. of glass with such great detail in today's churches. I don't know what they're valued at now, but I know that I would consider them priceless jewels of our diocese.